Well, the South African Federation of Trade Unions is expected to submit a notice to strike over the country's economic policy. SAFTU's General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi will hand over a Section 77 to Nedlac, highlighting the country's high unemployment and issues of corruption, among others. For more, let's cross to our reporter Mbongeni Mutwa.
Well, anybody staying in South Africa today will know that South Africa is falling apart. The levels of everything just on its nose. Sorry, can I repeat that? Anybody who stays in our country will recognize that we are finding ourselves at the point of no return. We have arrived at the point of a precipice. We are risking a new civil war if we allow the situation to go any further west. The levels of poverty, the levels of unemployment inequalities, the fact that our schools are dysfunctional, our healthcare centers, our criminal justice system have all but fallen apart, the levels of our environmental degradation, the water crisis, the eviction crisis of farm workers, the evictions of the backyarders everywhere, the state of the service delivery by our local governments. One aspect where we're doing things right. Workers have no trains to go to work because the state have allowed massive looting of not just the cables, but now even the rail lines are being rooted out because the PRASA will not provide security for them and yet provides super security for Gautrain and for SAA. The taxis that we are using are not being subsidized, and yet the reality is that 62% of workers use these taxis to and from work. We demand a public transport, of course, but in the meantime, we want the taxis to be fully subsidized so that we may not be forced into these taxis like the sardine fishes. And that's why we're forcing a discussion at this level of Nedlac, where we are being excluded, by the way, for all manner of shenanigans and maneuvers by those who are enjoying this structure being an exclusive club of those who agree with the maintenance of the status quo. So we coming in here to force a discussion, and should that discussion bear no fruit, we will no doubt occupy the streets. Firstly, we're supporting the COSATU strike on jobs on the 7th of October, and beyond that we have our own program of action. We're going to be occupying from PRASA to Transnet to DINEL to SAA to ESCOM, everywhere, and we will get the protection for all those workers who want to participate. We'll support those ones to participate freely without any fear.
Discussion that you want to happen around your concerns, that discussion is going to happen without your participation, since you're not members of Nedlac, isn't it?
That we raise that issue. Too many workers in this country are asking a very fundamental question. Who represent us? We are excluded from Nedlac, despite that we are the second largest federation. Our unions are being excluded from the bargaining councils. The parties that are enjoying the majority for now keep on increasing the thresholds to make sure that the start-up unions that are independent, democratic and campaigning do not form part of the discussions. And so our very first demand, to demand the right to representation. Of course, we're making many demands from economy that we demand that must be turned around and overhauled completely so that it can be based on meeting the most fundamental needs of workers.
Are you joining the COSATU strike on the 7th with COSATU's consent? Have you been in talks with them, or are you just joining on your own?
We've been in discussions with the leadership of COSATU, and we are all agreed that the demands they are pursuing, 4 of them, are also our demands. They are amongst the list of issues that we are submitting here. The issue of job bloodbath and the need for job creation, the issue of gender-based violence, the issue of government signing agreements and then bolting out of them, and the issue of ensuring that workers are protected generally in society. All of those things we are agreeing with, and that's why we are joining that strike. And this is deliberate on our part, because we're sending out a message to COSATU, to FEDUSA and NAFTU that says to them, your own guys, you cannot even shake the tree. We want broader unity. The type of unity that SAFTU is pursuing is the unity of the entire working class formations, from the unemployed to the informal sector workers, to the gender activists, to the environmental groupings, to the women and young people who are battling against their service delivery everywhere in the country, to the taxi associations who are demanding subsidization of their vehicles, to even the small business that are excluded in the mainstream economy, those who used to own shops in our townships and who are now finding themselves as beggars and or loitering the streets and joining the 10.8 million people unemployed.
SAFTU's Zwelinzima Vavi there. Now,